back to Fanfic Friday. Let's see here. Where is my cover? Oh, there we go. Alrighty, we are back with Fanfic Friday, which is a horrible time where I read aloud old stories I wrote in middle school and high school, and we all cringe as one at the horror of it. This week we're starting a new story, which is an old romance I wrote about Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. As you do. We'll give it a minute or two and see who joins us, and then we'll start the travesty, the horror. Let's see here. Is that uploaded? Hello, Vereen. Thanks for joining us. Love the icon. Very, very good. Let's head over here. Hello, Queen. Hello, Elfin. I'm morbidly fascinated, but I'm prone to very intense secondhand embarrassment. Oh, man. You're lucky you've missed some of the previous stories, because some of them were pretty embarrassing. I'm pretty much shameless, so I'm nearly immune, but there is some goofy stuff. Man. But it's fun. This story is... Here, let me look up when did I write this. Hey, Phil. Where's my download? Where is my download? Here we go. It's officially called The Orphanage. One of my first attempts at being, I don't know, morbid and dark and serious and thoughtful. I thought I was saying something important, which is why the genre for this story is romance / spiritual. And it was published in 2007, so I would have been 14. I was 14 when I wrote this, and 16 when I finished it. So I would have been in about middle school, start of high school. Oh boy. All these stories have been solid gold. I'm glad someone thinks that. Oh boy. This one today is going to be a little shorter, I think, because the first chapter is incredibly short, and my voice has been really hoarse lately, so I decided not to push it. But it'll be a good start, and then later today we'll probably be playing a horror game around 3, and then we'll watch some more TV afterward, so... we'll talk about all that later, but anyway, we'll get started with the nightmare that is this story. There are also multiple Coldplay quotes, which, like, why? Oh, man. Oh, yeah, everyone was philosopher by the time they were 14, right? Obviously. All right, no, I don't want you to be that size. I can't see the screen if you're that size. Okay. Oh god, here we go, y'all. Here we go. Let's see if it goes forward. Yes. When I was a child, I was saved by an angel. My mother would tell me the story almost every day, whenever I cried over a scraped knee. It actually says scrapped knee. Whenever I scrapped my knee, or pouted over a lost toy. It was my mom's way of saying, be glad you're alive. Since I was little, I can't remember much of it, so I had to take my mom's word for it. If I asked my brother, he'd get fidgety and avoid the subject, and Dad just blew me off completely. So I was saved by an angel. I was 7, a jolly, happy little girl. My mom called me Josie Girl. I don't know why. My name is Samantha. Why? What? It might have had something to do with the fact that I was a lot like my mother's sister, Josie. Can you imagine if your mom just called you by your aunt's name because you were kind of similar? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, that day, my brother and I were playing in the street, and to be frank, I was almost hit by a 1990s SUV. I'm gonna read that sentence a second time. Anyway, that day, my brother and I were playing in the street, and to be frank, I was almost hit by a 1990s SUV. But it was then that this mystical deity came in the form of a flash of light. Most of all, I do remember being cradled by warm, strong arms and thin blackness. Only 12 years later, and I still have my mother's words about the incident engraved in my mind. There was this beautiful light and a strong flap of wings, and next I knew you were in my arms. It was a miracle, Josie Girl. Mother died 7 years later, and Dad had a heart attack 3 years after that. My brother moved to the big city, but he still calls me his little country bumpkin sister. So I'm alone now. Sometimes when I feel really terrible and I stumble into bed, clutching the sheets and sobbing my heart out, I'll feel a comforting wind floating through the wind I was sure I'd closed. The word is supposed to be window, but I wrote wind twice, so I would feel a comforting wind floating through the wind. This is already delightful. Or maybe I'd feel a weight on the bed that isn't there, and I'm warm as if someone was beside me. There are times that prove to me my angel is real. I don't know who it is, but when I pray to God, I make a special prayer for my angel. An angel saved my life once, and to my surprise, an angel would save my life again. Whew! This is already so much! Ooh, oof, oof. Oh boy, oh boy. I wonder what blood tastes like. Often I find myself randomly wondering things like this. When I saw the blood flow down my trembling limbs, that was what came into my mind. Normal people would fight for their lives when stabbed by a mugger, instead of bothering to wonder whether or not blood would tickle the palate, but I suppose I am not normal. It occurs to me the knife in my gut really hurts. I suppose I should remove it. Why would the mugger leave the knife? Why would the mugger... What? So many questions. I suppose I should remove it, so that's what I do once the thief runs off into the night with his spoils. So he takes her stuff, but leaves the knife with his fingerprints on it. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So we've jumped very fast to she's thinking about the past and her childhood and how she was saved by an angel. And now we're in the modern day and she's just been stabbed. She's just been stabbed. Oh. I am finding it's not so easy to dislodge a knife from your ribs. Since I don't want to cause more damage, I leave the knife and begin to stumble down the street. I'm beginning to wonder why there are 3 signs directing me forward, but I suppose it's the blood loss. Yeah, hasn't everyone tasted blood? I feel like we all know what blood tastes like. Too late, I collapse against one of the signs, and I can no longer read it. Dying was not really what I had planned on doing today, but I guess things don't always go according to plan. I feel a presence nearby, warmth caressing my chilly form. As my lungs heave and burn, I hear the sound of wings. A voice is floating through the air. Damn, 1 hour off the job and you're already in trouble. A chill shivers down my spine. Was it my angel speaking to me? I think I'm going to die, I found myself whispering weakly, my breath leaving me. You don't have to. I'm a little surprised, but I listen. A friend of mine is about to die, but I want him to live. He's a bit of a fallen angel. My breathing becomes shallow. I can't see anymore. That or all the lights in the world have gone out. If you would take care of him, I'll give you a second chance. Who knows, you might like this guy better than me. The idea is foreign to me. The angel has always been here for as long as I can remember. But how can I refuse? What is my new angel's name? I whispered my last words as I die. Laughter echoes through my ears gently. Wait, so the character dies and Zach laughs? Ha! It's so funny, you're bleeding out! This is great! Tiredly, I see a tranquil blue light. His name is Sephiroth. I woke up, and all I could remember were those 4 words. His name is Sephiroth. I feel for my wound as the memories come flying back, but the wound is now a scar. I've never had a scar before. You apparently haven't been living. Curious, I look at it. It's so odd and big and strange looking. I suppose my wound was worse than I thought. You were dying! You were dying and you didn't think your wound was that bad? What? So where was Sephiroth and what was I supposed to do? Why hadn't my angel told me more? I stumble to the bathroom and stare at my tired eyes. I am average. I am ordinary. There's nothing in me that stands out. Oh no! I am a mole on the porcelain skin of planet Earth! Oh no! I am a mole on the porcelain skin of planet Earth. A disgustingly plain girl. Oh no! Oh my god. I am nothing. I have no friends and a brother who lives in a different state. I am nothing. Dim blue eyes stare back at me with nothing. Dirty blonde hair reflects nothing in the light. Dark tan skin marked with the scar on my left side. My clothes are soaked in blood and sweat. So I bathe, watching the caked blood leave my hair in nail beds. The water is cold, but I like it. I like cold. I step out and dress in a gray shirt and black sweats. Still, I don't see anyone, much less an angel. It's when I step downstairs that I know I am in the presence of an angel. It's unlike anything I'd ever imagined. There are 2 of them. The door quietly opens to allow them in, and in they step, bathed in light. One is carried by the other, blood-soaked, beaten, and bruised. Poor soul. He is so beautiful. His hair sparkles and shines, a glimmering silver, soft and smooth, soothing to the touch. How can his skin be so perfect? My body burns with the want to touch him. My body burns with the want to touch him. Want to touch him. I want to touch him. My body burns with the want to touch him. I am embarrassed to say he is naked, and that seeing him is my first experience seeing a naked man. But if his face is that of an angel, his masculine form is certainly the same. As for the angel who held him, I know by instinct he is my angel. There was a pregnant silence as my angel stepped in, letting the one I supposed was Sephiroth lie on my sofa, bleeding all over. I didn't really mind. So thoughtful. I felt self-conscious in his presence, so afraid and intimidated. With disdain, I realized I am crying. My angel came to me, kissed my forehead, and held me to reassure me. The tense keeps changing from present to past. I'm not sure what's happening here. Take good care of him, all right? My angel's voice was so beautiful. He backs away, headed back to that beautiful crystalline light. I find I am reluctant to be left alone. Wait, I murmur. What's your name? My angel chuckles elegantly. Ha 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 ha. As he turns to be engulfed in the shimmering light. My name is Zach. The spell seems to lift once Zach stepped away and the light fades. All was back to normal as I looked to Sephiroth. All was back to normal as I looked to Sephiroth. He looked strong, maybe even dangerous. For the first time, I am wondering what I got myself into. So, we are now to chapter 2. And underneath the chapter title, it says, the first chapter was in present tense, but all the others will be in past tense. I couldn't even be bothered to go back and fix the tenses. I just gave up on trying to follow a tense. Okay. Also, chapter 2 is entitled, Deep Inside, I'm Not As Tough As I Seem, But I Won't Let You Know, which is a lyric from a Coldplay song. I am almost 99.99% sure. We're going to find out. It is, in fact, from... Nope, it didn't find it. Let me go. Lyrics. Under My Skin by Rachel Yamagata. Okay, so it's not Coldplay, but it is a song lyric. It's a good song. Anyway. Today was so strange. Never before had I ever gone to sleep and awoken filled with such purpose. I had a reason to live now. I took Sephiroth into my room and cleaned him of the blood and dirt before bandaging him, drying him, and everything else I had to. How? The man is 6'9", a bajillion how did you... Okay. By the time I was finished, I fell asleep on the floor, exhausted. But I awoke in the morning with newfound purpose. I had a reason to breathe in the morning. Apparently, before Sephiroth, this lady was just dead inside. Okay. Happily skipping down the hall. I remembered today would be the day I would clean Sephiroth's hair of the blood, sweat, and dirt, but after breakfast. It was a sunny yet dreary Friday as I ran barefoot in the cold and retrieved the mail. What? No! Wait! No! No! Okay, given the time okay. In the first chapter, I said that she was 7 when she got hit by a car, almost, and then 12 years had passed. That would make her 7. She would be 19. So consider that she is 19 when I read this sentence. After being honorably discharged from the Marines, I floated through life relying on the monthly checks from the military to live. She's 19. She's been honorably discharged from the Marines! She's a Marine! She's a Marine! I live paycheck to paycheck, receiving little from the novels I write. Yes, I am a novelist, but not a great one. I set the payment aside with the bills in the dining room. Quickly, I eat a bagel and a vitamin before running upstairs to tackle today's work. I loaded a tub with water and soap, grabbed some towels and some rags, and entered my room. There he was. My sleeping angel. My breath paused as I looked at him. My breath paused as I looked at him, lying in the bed. How could anyone want to hurt such a beautiful being? What could he have done? Even as I think this, there is a sense of intimidation in me. Sephiroth did frighten me, but he was a beautiful angel when he slept. Can we get that part of the story, or is it brushed over? I literally do not remember. But this story is 30 chapters long and is finished, so there's a whole character arc. So don't worry, we'll probably learn a lot more about Miss Discharged Marine. And I know that's totally based on my sister, who was honorably discharged from the Air Force due to health problems. But apparently I decided to make her a Marine at 19. Moving in, I placed the bucket beside the bed. For me to clean his blood-soaked hair, I would have to sit behind him. So I gently took his silken hair into my hands and tried to lift his head into my lap as I sat. It worked, and I brushed all of his hair to the side of the bed. He was so beautiful. I wanted to get close to his lips and feel his breath on my cheek. But I controlled myself. Instead, I wet a rag and began stroking his hair. It was relaxing for me, and I think it was for him, too. He relaxed much more once I began caressing his hair. Slowly, his tainted red hair became silver again, smooth to the touch. I gently dried it and brushed it until he was finally clean. With a sigh, I removed his head from my lap, stood and changed his dressings. It was already noon by the time I finished, and I was depressed by the thought. I enjoyed his company. So, I guess I was depressed. I guess the character is depressed because she finished brushing his hair. I enjoyed his silent company, so I sat myself down on a windowsill and watched him. He was so beautiful. How is this story worse than the one where I literally inserted myself into the Final Fantasy universe? Somehow this is worse. Late in the evening, I checked his bandages once again. I had spent all afternoon working on my novel. It was coming along, but felt tasteless and dry. I felt sick thinking about it. Once I finished, I yawned and tiredly climbed into the other side of the bed. Leaning beside him, I let my eyes shut. I did not fall asleep immediately. The heat from his body kept me warm and his breathing was steady, and soon I fell asleep. I was dreaming. Everything floated and shifted with light and dark, dark and light. Twisting realities and slumbering thoughts, coexisting with nightmares and homicides. It wasn't often I dreamed, and soon I realized it wasn't me who was dreaming. Sephiroth was standing in front of me. A gut feeling told me it was his dream, not mine. "Why?" I heard his voice for the first time. Husky, deep, thick, and strong. He seemed so sad. "Mother, why? Please don't leave me." Sephiroth fell to his knees, sobbing. Instinctively, I sobbed too. I didn't understand my connection with him, but suddenly his pain was mine. My body and mind bogged down and shaking, electrified with pain. Desperately, I raced to Sephiroth to comfort him, as his anguished cries elevated above and beyond my dream. My eyes snapped open. Sephiroth was beside me, his voice raised in agony, kicking and screaming as if he'd been stung all over by bees. As if he'd been stung all over by bees. The poor soul was tearing his wounds open wide, and frantically I gasped and sweat over him. Doing all I could, flinging my body over his, I tried to restrain him as his blood soaked me and his screams hurt my eardrums. He kicked my ribs, and my lord, he was strong. I heard something crack. Did he just break her ribs? Did he just break them? Okay. Sephiroth, please. I'm here for you. It's okay. I struggled to get a hold around his arms, and I don't think I could have if he hadn't been so weakened. Cradling him, I pressed my neck against his forehead so he would have a shoulder to cry on. As I murmured to him and tried to soothe him best I could, Sephiroth slowly awoke from his nightmare. Sephiroth, are you okay? I was desperate, sobbing in worry. I didn't notice his screams end, I was so frightened. Sephiroth was breathing heavily on my neck. I realized he was awake and bleeding badly. Lie down, I'll fix it, I promise. Scrambling for my medical supplies, I rushed to him, even though apparently I have broken ribs. Sephiroth looked dazed, confused, and in pain, like he was waking from a nightmare, which he was. Before I could tend to him, he took firm hold of my wrist. You, he murmured, tired and questioning. I was lost in his wonderful eyes. They were brilliant green and cat-like as I'd never seen before. Gasping for air, I barely heard Sephiroth's mutters. You are the... Wait a minute. Oh my god, I switched tenses again! Why do I keep switching tenses? I'm so bad at this. You are the one he spoke of? What? Who? Sephiroth glowered. Zack. I remembered Zack all too well, but Sephiroth's wounds were more important. I gave him a pleading look. Please, you're hurt. Sephiroth gave me a strange look, but to my surprise, he silently laid back down and let me tend to him. Finally, he was awake. My heart burst with joy and wonderment. To not be alone, to be needed, to have another life coexist with my own. Is this what fulfillment and contentment felt like? He's been in your house for a day. I hadn't spoken to him since my first time doing so. I miss his wonderful voice, yet I am content. I have never felt so real. I have a reason to breathe, something to accomplish, a mission to stick to, someone who needs me. Though I can tell Sephiroth is not the type to say he needs anyone. Who knew being needed could feel so powerful? My legs are shaking, but I feel like I could fly. That's how my days were. I procrastinated on my writing more and found myself lazing about taking care of Sephiroth instead. Apparently, we're not going to bring back up the broken ribs. Apparently, that's just not a problem. I was doing things I didn't know had to be done. Dusting, cleaning out the attic, shelving books I never got to reshelve. My house has been a mess forever, I realized. I just never paid attention to it. Whenever I entered Sephiroth's room, which was really mine, he would stare at me, never leaving me with his eyes. A week passed in silence. Silently, I took a tray of food into the bedroom where Sephiroth lay sprawled, deeply thinking silently. Deeply thinking silently, through every noon and midnight and day. Silently, I took a tray of food into the bedroom where Sephiroth lay sprawled, deeply thinking silently through every noon and midnight and day. After aiding Sephiroth and sitting up, I handed the tray to him. His eyes were downcast today, sullen, which I knew meant he was thinking again. I had already decided he thought too much. Those green eyes of his were always full of contemplations and thoughts, as if it were his duty to solve all the mysteries of life. Where am I? The question came out of the blue and shocked me, and to tell the truth, I didn't know the answer. Should I say, you're in a hick town in Georgia, the United States, planet Earth? What could I say? Unsure of how to answer, I stumbled upon my words. Sephiroth gazed out the window, seemingly far away. I wonder if he was looking to the sky as if it would tell him where home was. This is the orphanage, isn't it? His words snapped me out of my daydreams. I wasn't sure what it meant. It sounded important. One of those mystical words that means so much and represents something much greater than all of us. What was the orphanage? What do you mean, Sephiroth? It felt so nice, murmuring his name. Sephiroth was already finishing with his lunch. He must have wolfed it down and there wasn't a crumb on him. Adjusting, he gently set his feet on the floor. Zack told me there was a place for us, for people who have nowhere else to go but hell. He called it the orphanage. I swallowed and let out the breath I'd been holding. The orphanage? And I moved to Sephiroth's side as he attempted to stand. With a groan, the man stood on his feet and I moved to help him. He gave me that look, a warning glare to back off, but I refused to listen to those beautiful eyes. Putting my left arm around his back, the two of us began walking slowly, steadily. I'm not the only one. He muttered the words as if they were curses. Others will come. I wasn't sure what he meant, and I wasn't sure I minded. Directing Sephiroth downstairs, I figured fresh air would do him good. Other people sounded fresh and exciting. Heaven help me, I've had enough bland grayness in my life. He still hadn't answered my question. Sephiroth was so strong and cold. His gaze shook me to the core, if only because I knew he could read me, as if he knew my every thought. This weird attachment I had to him was strange, as if whenever he looked at me, he knew me more and more each time. I don't know about more people coming, but if others come, I smiled at the tall man, I will take care of them. Sephiroth scowled. I do not need taken care of. Laughing quietly, I arrived at the bottom of the stairs with him. No, maybe you don't, but maybe I do. Would you take care of me? Giving me an incredulous look, Sephiroth frowned. I care for no one. My eyes fell upon the warm sunlight, the light that tickles the skin and warms the soul. My eyes fell upon the warm sunlight, the light that tickles the skin and warms the soul. So blinding to look at, so soft when reflected upon you. Such a strong, strange beauty. Perhaps I'm an orphan too, not a caretaker. So I guess we orphans will have to take care of each other. The two of us and whoever follows after. We'll look after one another. Sephiroth didn't soften, but I could tell he was thinking. That was just like him. I felt like I knew him somehow. Maybe I was getting able to read him too. My hand reached for the doorknob. Light streamed through the open door. I think Sephiroth made a sound. It might have been a groan or a murmur of discontent, but I wanted to hope it was perhaps a tranquil sigh. Come on, I think a little sunlight will do you good. there's a poem. It is a made-up poem that my 14-year-old self wrote, and it says, Mama, I'm falling for an angel. A lot of people think he's a monster, but I know better. He's very beautiful. Mama, he taught me how to fly. So that was something, wasn't it? It was short. It was definitely short, but my voice has been pretty weak lately, so I figured we'd keep it short. I think next week will be longer, because that first chapter was incredibly short. What we sure did, that was sure something, wasn't it? That was something else. That was something else. Oh my god, I was not expecting the level of, you can tell I was trying very hard to be poetic and dramatic and, like, very thoughtful and deep, and it's so bad. It's so bad. Oh, and the tense changes. Oh my god, the tense changes. There's so many problems. There's so many problems with this. This was horrible. This was horrible. I'm so upset. I can't believe how bad it is. Thank you all for joining me in this terribleness. We'll continue next week. I may do it at the other time at 2 o'clock instead of at 11, because I wanted to experiment with doing it earlier because my other reading streams are earlier, but I may start moving them down because it seems like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. seems to be like the golden point for doing streams, so I may start doing reading streams at those hours too. We'll see. May experiment with that next week and see if we can do that. Whew. But anyway, thank you all for joining me, and at about 3 we'll be doing some I was gonna do Persona. I don't know, we might do some horror. We'll see what I feel like doing. And then after that, we're gonna watch some more of The Untamed, which is the gay martial arts Chinese show that I love so much. Join Discord if you haven't, so you can hang out and watch that with us. Links are in the description if you want to support the channel and enable me to do more horrible shit like this. And yeah, I guess that's everything, really. So if you can, join us later. Hopefully we'll see you then, and we'll see you then. Bye.